Huddle up, team.
In today's video, we're going to be talking about our money mindset and what it is and where does it come from. And if you're married or have a partner in a committed relationship, this is really important and it's going to improve your relationship and you'll never fight about money again, right? Okay, that's kind of a tall order, but it's definitely going to help. So if you ever have arguments about money and you and your spouse are not on the same page, this is going to help. So stick around, watch this whole thing. Could change your life. So money mindset is so important. It is formed super early and it's shaped by your parents, your environment, and your earliest experiences with money. And then it changes over time. But it's super important because your money mindset really creates the foundation upon which all the other money stuff happens. So this is understanding yourself, understanding your attitudes, your beliefs, and your values about money, right? And we want to discuss this first and show you kind of, we had a conversation about this the other day over at the tennis court. And it was really enlightening. Like, we've been married almost 28 years and we had this talk and we learned stuff about each other that we didn't know. So that was cool, right?
It was, yeah.
It helps, build relationship, but having these talks is going to help you understand yourself better, help you understand your partner better, improve your communication. I mean, all of it. It's so good. But we're going to start a series soon on getting your financial house in order.
Yes.
And part of that is creating a blueprint and what do you want your life to be like? And we just thought it was super important that we cover this mindset stuff first, right? Before we have a blueprint taught.
Right, because what we were taught as a kid from our folks is in our brain right now, and it was the start of our unique experience with money, I believe.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we want to help you understand yourself, and really this is about your programming. And you're probably not even aware of it, but you got programming, you got stuff going on up here, and having this conversation with your partner is really going to help, like I said, and want to encourage you to do that. So this is intimate. This is us talking a little bit and sharing our stories, and we hope that you can benefit from it. So, honey, why don't you start us off and share a little bit about your earliest memories about money and how you think that started to program you and shape you.
First off, I would say that I am a spender and a giver. I'm not so much the saver. And my first experience with money and having any would be my dad giving me money for church to put in the piggy bank at Sunday school.
Oh, your little coin purse?
Coin. It was probably a quarter, and I remember that vivid having it given to me, put it in my purse, and being able to put that in that bank in Sunday school, and then the next experience was when I would take a nickel to school every day for the white milk snack. So that was my first experience with carrying money, because Dad probably gave us that quarter in the car. I'm pretty sure going to church, but I had to take care of that nickel all day.
Oh, okay. So there was some responsibility there.
Yeah. So how about you?
So I like
itty bitty.
Yeah. So I like what you said about you recognizing that you're a spender and a giver. I think really there's two.
I'm prone to that.
Yeah, I think there's really maybe two major things, right? Like you're either a spender or you're a saver. And then there's categories underneath. But I think those are two primary kind of money personalities.
Yes.
And I learned early that I am a saver. And this isn't really directly money related, but this demonstrates the saver in me, this story. So I remember, I'm the oldest of three boys. So I have two younger brothers. And I remember being in the car in the back seat with my brothers and Mom giving us each like a package of candy. It wasn't a candy, it was a package of candy. And so immediately I put mine in my pocket and then I asked my brothers to share some of their candy with me. So I'm the saver, right? And not a great sharer. I think I got better though. But that was the story that right away, it's like, oh yeah, I am such a saver and an investor and more entrepreneurial. And then my next earliest memory was fun spending money and trying to be a good spender, a responsible spender. and I probably was 6 or 5 or something, I don't know, but I remember getting a quarter and with my brothers walking to the, the local candy store. There was just a little, candy store on the corner in the next neighborhood, and we would go over there and then figuring out, how am I going to spend this 25 cents? I mean, this candy was 1 penny and this one was 2 pennies, but man, the one I really liked was 5 pennies. And so how was I going to, or 5 cents. So how was I going to, spend my quarter and get the maximum candy and fun and fulfillment out of that, situation? And I remember that, and that was fun to spend money on candy, and but just figuring out how to be the best spender.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So what's next for you?
Probably first grade. We must have had either we got an allowance or I had just saved. Birthday money was a little bit of money. Christmas money was a little bit. So I must have always had a little bit, and was always riding my bike to the gas station down the road, Texaco or Sunoco, on that pink Schwinn, and spending it all on the blackjack taffy. So good. Or riding my bike down to the antique store in Lucas and spending my money there on the penny candy. And I would spend it all.
Right? Oh, the spender. Spend it all.
Yeah, so that would be first grade, second grade. And then I did begin babysitting because we moved when I was around 10 and 11 until I had my first job at 13.
So you don't count babysitting as a first job?
Yes, well, no, not as my first real job.
No? Okay.
No, because the real job was me in the bakery by myself, actually, and handling the cash register, handling money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
And it didn't tell you what money to give back. It had to count money back. My aunt told me how to count money.
How to count money backwards? Very fun.
And I still do. Still do.
Okay, so we're talking about first jobs then and how that influenced us with money. So my first job, I was 15 years old. Well, that's my really first job. Like before that, my brothers and I, we learned about working and construction and home modeling and stuff because, and this is actually a very significant money mindset kind of a situation. I just remember, we talked about investing, or Dad did investing. I remember him getting the investor newsletters, and I guess my timeline's off a little bit because I was a little bit older here, but I remember reading those investor newsletters and just thinking how cool that was to invest money and grow money and accumulate wealth. And but something happened, and you only know as much as what your parents allow you to know, right? Because I'm a teenager, I'm a kid, and they don't tell you everything. But I remember something happened. Dad was investing and in some kind of a tax shelter, a tax advantage type of an investment situation. And something happened. I don't know what happened. I think the government changed the rules or whatever, and he got stuck in that situation where the tax advantage that he was looking for didn't end up going through, and so then he had this big tax bill that he had to pay. And I think that was part of his motivation for getting a side hustle. And so my dad's the coolest dad because before side hustles were even a thing, he did it, right? He and my mom, they bought a house to fix and flip. And so we had already done work on our other home, remodeling the basement. And so my brothers and I were handy now, even though we were just early teens. And so we were useful to them. And so they bought this next house as a fix and flip on purpose to make money and get this tax bill paid off. And what was cool is, of course, if you do that in your principal residence long enough, it's tax-free money. So we started learning about, investing and growing wealth, through real estate and so also investments. And what goes with that story then is my first investment was right after Black Monday in 1987. So the stock market had crashed. It dropped, I don't know, like 30% in 3 days or something like that week. And I remember I was a senior in high school, and I remember that event happening. But then I remember my dad taking us down to a local stockbroker and starting to invest in stocks just as a super,
Wow.
young person. So
Uh-huh.
there'd always been that interest
Yeah.
in me. And I remember that happening, but that was significant after that crash, to be starting to invest money.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's the investment stuff. Like I was kind of familiar with that, but so I want to back up now
Yep.
and talk about my first job, right?
Yep.
So this is early. I mean, that was so the invest. Don't get me wrong. Like the investing stuff with my dad and that whole situation was massive impact on my mindset, my money mindset. But I don't want to miss the part about my first job because it was really instrumental in me growing up and maturing and talking about my saving pattern and identifying that early in my life. And you'll go through the same thing. You'll find it in your own life too. But so when I was 15, my dad had arranged for me to go to work for the whole summer on a farm out, about an hour's drive away from where we lived, where we grew up. I wanted to work. I was 15, and Dad knew these farmers really well, and he'd arranged it. So I left home for the summer, and I got room and board, and I was going to get paid at the end of the summer. But I had to wait all summer. I mean, I had to work my tail off all summer. I mean, and that was hard work, okay? But at the end, I think I worked 9 weeks. And at the end of the 9 weeks that I worked at the farm, I got a check. And it was for $900.
That's awesome.
So this guy goes right to the bank. And, I had my passport savings account. You open it up and they print it on there.
Mm-hmm.
I had one of those early, and I deposited that $900 right in there, and I saved my money.
I did have one of those too, and that was probably the only way that I saved money was when I put it in that.
Uh-huh. If it didn't go in the savings account, it was going to get spent.
Yep.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So then after the summer, I was, still 15, but I started working then at a building supply store, and I learned all about all the building materials and, I mean, everything. And which was really cool because I was doing it with my parents, renovating this house as a young person, but then I was learning how to sell it and communicate it and help people with all the building materials and take their orders and do all that kind of stuff. And so I would work that on weekends and some nights to make money because I knew I was going to have to pay for my own car insurance and get a driver's license and put in gas and do all that kind of stuff. So I started working and did that through high school, as well as helping my parents with the fix and flips, because we did several homes. And the coolest one was a home that was about 110 years old, hadn't been touched in a super long time. And it had a two-seater, like two butt seats, cedar-lined outhouse that was attached to the back of the woodshed, and the woodshed was attached to the main house. So could you imagine? I mean, this was in the 80s, right? And there's a two-seater outhouse. It's cedar-lined outhouse attached to the woodshed that was attached to the main house. So we had a lot of fun renovating that old place. And it was a big deal because it was a big home that had been built for a banker, and there was a carriage house still on the corner property. I mean, it was cool. Yeah, it was super cool. Anyway, interesting experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else? What other major events do you have that you think contributed to the development of your attitudes and beliefs and values about money? I appreciate the giving one a lot and senior spender. Is there anything else?
I don't recall talking much about money in our home. Yeah, so it was, Dad was a school teacher and Mom was a stay-at-home mom. And so Dad had a job in the summer. And
when he wasn't teaching, he picked up a job.
Picked up something.
Okay.
And to be able to go to Mansfield Christian School as part of something that is significant with me, that they, when they did talk about money, this is what I do remember. It was very expensive for them to do that. And I remember they wanted us to pray and make sure that we wanted to go. And then we had to write out a paper as kids, Bobby and Annie and I, we would write why we wanted to go back. They wanted to send us the first year. Well, why do you want to go back? And we'd write a letter. And I remember asking Dad later, how did you do that? How did you and Mom do that? God did it. It was a miracle. And yeah, I mean, I do believe that. But so that was very significant to me because it was a lot of money that was being spent.
Okay.
And yeah, that's brings me up to, well, that's a high school,
Being done high school.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So,
was there anything else you wanted me to talk about?
oh, just some of I remember Dad was always save your pennies. That was very important. Save your pennies. Get a job in order to save your pennies. Money scripts. Do you have any? Recall any money scripts or things, little jingles or slogans, quotes about?
The only thing I guess would be, and the most memorable. I mean, I remember this. I really don't remember much of anything else. But my grandfather, which would be my mom's dad, Grandpa Courtney, he would always say, "Heads I win, tails you lose." How about that? We are okay with doing it that way. So Grandpa was always going to win, right? So I just remember just thinking about to win.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of important, and that was neat. But I love my Grandpa Courtney.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew my Grandpa Thorman because he died when I was 4. But Grandpa Courtney had some precious time with him when he was older. And it was neat when I worked at the building supply store. We would go through the lot and then over the railroad tracks, and then I could go right into my grandparents' backyard, past the rhubarb bush, and then into the house. And they had a big stone or a big brick house, and I could have lunch with Grandpa once a week during the summer when I was working at the building supply store. So that was really precious. Good association with working and
right.
Yeah. All right. So guys, I want to encourage you to have this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Ask your spouse, ask your partner about their earliest memories about money. Do they think they're more of a saver or are they more of a spender? What do they have any kind of bad memories or traumatic experiences with money growing up that are significant for them? And think about it for yourself. Like, really get in touch with who you are, your beliefs and attitudes and values about money, because that is going to shape the way that you think and feel and choose. And that then goes right into your decisions and your behaviors and your habits with money. Okay, like this builds on each other.
That's right.
So this is super important, and it'll be a great conversation, great way to get to know your partner better and really have some meaningful conversations about money. Can't be taboo. It's too much. It's kind of the taboo topic, and man, we screwed this up early in our marriage, and we did not talk about money.
I was so afraid, and so worried, and so we just didn't, and that was not a good choice.
We've been through some stuff. Okay, let me tell you, and we would like to help you avoid that pain and difficulty. So you got to have these. You got to have these talks, and we'll build on this because there's more talks to have. But I think this is a really great way to get started. And one thing I read in a book was no shame, no blame. So when you're talking about your money issues, you really no shame, no blame. Just come from a place of wanting to understand and be understood, and together, work on your situation to make it better.
That's right. That's good.
Is that good? It can get better. And I'm telling you, you can change your life. We have dramatically changed our life from just 3 years ago.
Amen.
That's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. And we'll probably share it. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already. We would love your comments. Drop us a comment. Be sure to like it for the algorithm here. We want to help grow this and go and be a positive impact and influence on a whole lot more people's lives.
Right.
To benefit from learning from our mistakes and the things that we've done right and what we've learned from all we've read and done over the years. So we would like to have you on the journey, and stay tuned. Like I said, we're going to start this series really shortly on putting your financial house in order and what those steps are that you can go through to make sure that happens. So that's it. You got anything else?
No, that's good.
All right. Subscribe, like, and comment, and we will see you on our next video coming soon. Bye-bye.